Hello, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a quick one. I'm trying to get a video recorded and starting uploading during a sprint. So we'll see if this is going to work. I've already had to stop and start several times. Yeah, so we'll see if this works. Yeah, so I finished 4 print books and a bunch of other books in the 3rd week of April. I have not counted them yet, so I will be counting them up as I do this video. How many books did I finish this week? So one of them I've been reading for quite a while. You guys have seen it before in TBRs. I've been reading bits of it during sprints, but I haven't been reading it very much outside of certain sprints this month because it is a new release that hasn't come out yet. And that one is The Talented Mrs. Mandelbaum. And I think the title really does intentionally allude to The Talented Mr. Ripley. And the connection there is that both are successful con artists. Mrs. Mandelbaum was a German immigrant who very quickly went from being a petty thief to becoming a fence, and then a really successful fence, and eventually a lady crime boss. There are not very many of those in the history books. And certainly I doubt that there are very many that are missing from the history books either. Although this is certainly one. This lady was not in my history books when I was in school. So it does make you wonder, who else are they not talking about that just didn't fit in with the stereotypes that we were, taught from. So yeah, there is a lady crime boss. And she didn't actually ever end up being arrested and imprisoned for the stuff that she did. Right. I think she was arrested once when she was still a petty thief. And then later on, when they try and take her down, it kind of sort of works, but it's amazing how much it doesn't work, given how everybody kind of had an idea what she was doing all along. So it's a fascinating story, excellent biography, definitely worth reading. Comes out in July. July 2nd, I think, is what the release date is, according to the back of the book. So yeah, definitely recommend. Definitely one of my favorites this week. For Old School April, I did finish 2 Star Trek books, Unification and The 3-Minute Universe. So Unification is Picard, Next Generation, but does have Spock in it. Not so much Kirk, but Spock. This one is kind of a novelization of 2 of the episodes from the Next Generation series. Although there's more information here than in the episodes in some ways. But if you want stories that are not just the episodes in book form, this might be a frustrating book for you. If you've watched the Next Generation series, you might remember that episode where there's rebels on Romulus and they're in caves and the leader comes out from the shadows and lowers his hood, I think there was a hood involved. And it's Spock, who is not a Romulan. He's a Vulcan, and what the heck is he doing on Romulus as a leader among the rebels? Which took the episode in an interesting direction, and yeah. This is the novel that goes with that. It definitely has a lot of information that kind of builds on who the Romulans and the Vulcans are, and allows Star Trek to go in an interesting direction after this point. So I liked it. And it's been a long time since I saw those episodes. So for me, it was a good read. But obviously, I've already watched the episodes. So I kind of already knew they were going to run into Spock. Because of course they would. So it's kind of hard for it to be a big reveal if you're already a Star Trek fan. But it was fun. The next book I finished from Star Trek is The 3-Minute Universe. This one is Kirk and the Old Enterprise. And a race of aliens that is just gross, but beyond gross. They actually cause humans and other races to feel physically ill at smelling this set of aliens. They look disgusting in a way that all the other aliens just can't stand it. And their voices are physically painful to a lot of the other alien races. To the point where they can actually cause physical damage to other races that they try to talk to. So it's an interesting kind of alien. Usually the discrimination you see between alien species is just, racism, but with aliens. This time there's actually a physical reason why the species don't get along that well. But it leads to some interesting problems in this book. So I did enjoy it. This one was a lot more original than the other one. So I appreciated that. The physics, I'm not sure it works like that. Maybe we're just so not advanced. We don't even have Starfleet yet. So maybe it is possible to make a rift between our universe and a baby universe that's only 3 minutes old and will burn everything up. Maybe. That is possible. Maybe. Sort of. But not the physics that I learned. Anyway. So, good book though. It's always refreshing to read classic Star Trek. I did grow up as a Trekkie. So, it's nostalgia. The other physical book I finished, I did talk about this one in my previous wrap-up because I was late, so I was already into this week at the time. The Bostonians by Henry James. And I talked about then that Commissario Brunetti from the Donna Leone series, his wife Paula really likes Henry James. So every once in a while I try another Henry James just because she says such nice things about his work and, makes it sound like something I might want to try again. So I did. Still didn't really like it that much. It wasn't terrible, just not memorable. So, in addition to those, I also finished a bunch of ebooks and audiobooks. So last week at this point, Nicole from Noteworthy Fiction was reading Effie Briest by Theodore Fontaine. Theodore Fontaine. So Effie Briest is similar to a lot of kind of Victorian novels and but German. So not Victorian because German. But otherwise, it's a couple where the young lady is much younger than her husband, although he's only in his 30s. It's not like he's, ancient. He's just older than she is. So the introduction to this one made it sound as if it was kind of a robbing the cradle sort of marriage. No, he was in his 30s. That's not... not alarming. Certainly not something where he's going to be gray-haired and dying before she's had a baby or something. No. Anyway, she was young and impressionable, and she gets married, goes out into the countryside with her husband, who has a good job, but his job is out in a small town where not much happens. And she wants a life that's more of a exciting city sort of environment. So they're not well matched and stuff happens, and it's kind of a morality tale sort of novel. I didn't appreciate the morality tale part of it because my modern morals didn't fit with that at all. I didn't see that those things were things she did wrong, actually. So, right. But it was an interesting novel. I don't read that many books from pre-World War I Germany. So this one was fun. I read and listened to the translation that was done about 100 years ago, something like that. It was abridged. The actual translation into English was abridged. So for a long time, that was the only translation available in English. And if you wanted the whole book, you had to learn German. So I actually might listen to and read the German at some point because I have studied several years of German. I just haven't ever gotten to where I can read it. So it might be a good step in that direction. But there are new editions of Effie Briest in translation into English that are not abridged. And I will be hopefully listening to an unabridged audiobook when it comes in on Libby. I'm on hold for it at the moment. I haven't checked today, so I might even have it by now. But it's 2 hours longer than the abridged version, which is not that much different as far as the actual story. I doubt that there's much that's going to stand out, but I'm curious to see what they did cut because it was translated originally so long ago that some of what was cut might have been for morality issues, morality and taste related editing. So I'll be interested to see what they cut and what the story sounds like, having already gone through the shorter by 2 hours version. Which, if you're listening at 2 times speed, it's literally an hour's difference. So, not that much. But anyway, so I finished that one. And it's possible this is going to turn into a bit of a buddy read because Nicole couldn't get into it. This is why I picked it up, because I do have a lot more background in German literature, and I've studied German for that matter. So when she was having a hard time with it, I was like, well, I need to read it eventually anyway. It is on several lists that I need to read it for. So I might as well read it. And then I found out that it's really tricky to find audiobooks of the not abridged version. So, we might be picking this up as a buddy read for later in the year. If Nicole can find a version that she likes better next month, that might happen. But otherwise, we're thinking maybe somewhere closer to September, October, with the setting of Effie Briest being basically, contemporaneous with Victorian or pre-Victorian literature. It might actually be something to read closer to Victober. It's not Victorian. Victorian is specifically English. And within very specific dates, which I'm not sure this one falls into. But it still would be something that would be an interesting comparison with Victorian literature. So that might be how we get through it. And certainly I will be trying at least a couple chapters in German just to see how it goes now that I already know the story. I tried that with Kafka. Kafka in German is harder German than I think I'm ready for. So maybe I don't want to start my advancing in the German language with Kafka. So, yeah. So anyway, after Effie Briest, I moved on to the audiobook of Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. This one is actually on the Dublin Literary Award long list for 2024, I believe. It's definitely in the Dublin Literary Award library. So I finished it and get to check it off. That was great. How could you write such a long book in which nothing happens? I actually read it. I actually did enjoy it. It got 4 stars. Not much happened in the whole book. And some of the folks in the sprints that I was reading it during probably were laughing because I was having an issue with this book that the family was too happy and too wholesome. And who in real life has a family like that? Like, there's no scandals. There's no trauma. What is there to build a novel around? Yeah. And I come from a dysfunctional family, so I was having a really hard time relating to these people. Anyway, so after that, I moved on to Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. So Ann Patchett, then Ann Napolitano. There's a reason I was having a hard time remembering names for a little while there. They're both Ann. I was not misremembering. Ann Napolitano wrote Hello Beautiful. This is also one from the Dublin Literary Award Library. I don't remember if it's also from this year's long list. It might have been last year. I don't remember. But I know it was something for Dublin Literary Award for my reading all of the books project. I liked Hello Beautiful. It was a 5-star read for me. Kind of a family saga where we start out with a family that has some scandal, and then they move on to the next generation, and the scandal kind of follows them along, but good things happen along with the bad things and their reactions to them. It was really good. I enjoyed it. And then I moved on to Fresh Water for Flowers, which is another Dublin Literary Award library book. I don't remember which year this one was nominated, but it didn't have that many days left on Libby, so I kind of had to just finish it. So I did. I enjoyed this one as well, but not as much. It was a 4-star read for me. And then the other audiobook I finished this week that I haven't even updated Goodreads with yet. Oh my goodness. So I need to do that. My numbers are not quite right yet. Was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, I believe. Red Rising turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it was. I don't know what I thought it was going to be, but I did not expect it to be the kind of story it was. It reminded me of Hunger Games, but like Hunger Games on the planet that Asimov's Foundation starts out at. Yeah, I'm not going to remember the name of the planet right now. I've said it before, but anyway, the planet where the Emperor lives in Foundation. And in that one, our psychohistorian is traveling around on this planet and meeting people from different walks of life within the planet. Which the Emperor doesn't see. The Emperor is only ever seeing his own little sliver of society. So he doesn't have a really good sense of how things are actually working. But some of the aspects of their society remind me very much of some of the the sections of society in Red Rising, especially the mining community. That definitely had to have been at least somewhat inspired by Asimov. I'm sure that Brown read Asimov, so would not be a surprise. Anyway, so Hunger Games meets Foundation, or the world of Foundation. It was good. I enjoyed it. 5 stars, definitely. And I am looking forward to the rest of the books. I've been told that the rest of the books are even better. So definitely I will be finishing that series. Probably in the next month. I might wait until May to finish the rest of them because I am still trying to only read books that are allowed for this month. I've relaxed the rules a little bit, but only a little bit. Yeah, so how are the readathons going? Well, so Old School April is probably the most successful in that since I put away all of my clothes that are pointedly not 90s, and I put away all the books more or less that are not 90s or earlier, so that the things I'm looking at when I'm deciding what to wear and what to read are within the rules. And there's not really particular prompts you have to do in order to participate. I do need to log all my points, which I will be doing probably in another day or so. I am trying to get through some NetGalley arcs. Rules or not, I need to finish some NetGalley arcs. So that's what I'm focusing on tonight and probably tomorrow night. Tonight through tomorrow night, probably. Next 24, 36 hours, somewhere in there. Kind of like my own little mini readathon, just doing NetGalley. To see how many of these I can crank out without compromising my reading quality, of course. But I got approved for 7 more NetGalley arcs in the last 2 days, so I really do need to finish some. I did just finish one that I did the feedback for, so they are getting done. And I think I'll have another one done in the next hour or so, but yeah, so that's taking first priority for a little while. As far as the other stuff, Aurelium Academy, that's what Red Rising was for, actually. That's one of the few books where I don't know if it fits the dates. I don't think it does. But for the Zodiac recommendation for Aurelium Academy, I had to look that one up, first of all. That is not something that I've come across already. I don't do Instagram and TikTok. I have a feeling that's kind of where that concept came from. And there are blogs from publishers about it, but I think following a trend rather than creating the trend. So Red Rising was one of the few books that I found for Aries that I both wanted to read and hadn't read yet. So that was for that requirement. I probably have finished some other things, but I need to go through and actually look at the prompts now and see what I need to accomplish still. So I need to do that. I'm running out of days in which to do so. The other one I was doing was the Tomes and Treasures? I don't remember anymore what that's called. The Dungeons and Dragons one. I think if any of them end up not being all that successful, that one will be it for me. It's the last one I added, so it's not as high a priority anyway. It was something that if I get time, I'll do it too. But I didn't really get very far into it. It's not something where there's points for teams quite the way the others are. The Aurelium Academy, you're building up a character, and what you do this month has consequences for what you do in the next iteration at the end of the year. I don't remember which month. So that one I'm going to try and actually accomplish some of what I wanted so that I can, move on. And I am in the snakes, the silver snakes, I think that's what they're called, for Old School April. I'm in the snakes anyway. So that one, there's points, and I have a team, and I don't want to let my side down. But yeah, there's still only so many hours in a day and so many days in a week and so on. So I think that's where I'm at. I did start a new genre blanket because the other one was bugging me. I just really like center start blankets, and the other one I was trying to do was going back and forth. I just was not really getting into it. I finished about 3 books worth of rows and just stalled out. The one from January and February, I need to finish the February books on. But it's not even going to be a blanket, it's a wrap. So I really kind of still wanted a blanket. This one I'm just starting from January and working my way through. But because I already know what the books are for quite a ways, I can kind of plan out what I'm going to do for stitches as I go along because I already know what books they are, instead of trying to figure it out as I read the books, which was not working at all. See if I can get my lamp to come back up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, spooky. Anyway. Alright, so my lamp is deciding to flicker out for the moment. I think there's a loose connection in it. So, yeah. So the total number of books I finished in the 3rd week of April then would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 books. So, not too shabby. 9 books in 7 days. Yeah. I am going to be... the light's back. I don't know. So I am going to be trying to read more print books for the rest of this month. After I get caught up on some NetGalley. So, yeah, I'm hopefully going to have quite a few more books I can actually physically show you guys for the last weekly wrap-up video for April. And then I do need to figure out what I'm going to read for May. For the read-alongs or buddy reads, so I've been reading The Deep Into the Ocean. Okay. So I've been reading Deep Into the Ocean by Jacqueline Mitchard. Oh my goodness. And I've gotten 100 pages into it. That's about as far as I've gotten so far. And I don't think Coda's gotten started on it yet. He's still working on Rebecca. So my guess is that the Jacqueline Mitchard book is going to carry over into May. There's no reason that we can't just continue it until we finish it. So, Jacqueline Mitchard will be a carryover buddy read into May. And then if Nicole from Noteworthy Fiction is still up for it, we have a buddy read that we've been talking about doing since last month. I think it was last month. It's been a while since we talked about it for the first time. But so far we're still on for Quo Vadis by some, I think, Polish guy with a name that starts with S. When I pull it out, I will figure out how to say it as well. Yes. And then the other book that I have a buddy read thread on my Discord for is The English Patient. I'm going to be starting that when I finish my NetGalley marathon, because I do want to finish that this month. So hopefully that one for me will be done at the end of this month. The thread will be up on my Discord that as people read it, if you want to chat about it with me, that's great. I will probably put some of my thoughts in there as I read it. But it's one that is just going to be an open discussion thread for anyone that wants to join in on that one. Because I know there was a lot of interest in that book, but everybody interested in reading it is really overbooked at the moment. So it's anyone's guess when anybody's going to have time to pick that up. And probably it's not going to happen in the same week for everybody. So that one I'm just going to leave as an open discussion thread. Deep Into the Ocean as well. Once Coda and I were talking about it, several other people popped in like, oh, that sounds like a really good book. I want to read it. So same thing for that one. It's just going to be an open discussion thread that when you get to it, just pop on there and let us know what you think as you're reading it. I'm going to be using the spoiler tag thingies on Discord to make sure to cover up anything that would be a spoiler in what I'm saying. I invite everyone else to do that too. And that way we can discuss it in our own time. And I think there's a couple other books that I should be thinking in terms of making threads for next month. There were the ones from the poll. I'll talk more about those in the next video. And yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up before I end up with another coughing fit. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Yes, and I will probably be on Coda's sprints again this week. It seems to be working out okay. It's amazing. My internet was cooperating this past one. Now that I've said that, I'm sure it won't, but you never know. So I will see you guys somewhere on sprints or wherever. In the meantime, happy reading. Bye, guys!